Business news now with Catherine Nicholson, who's joined us on set. Good to see you again, Catherine.
Hi,
the European markets have just opened for trade, so let's start there. What's happening in the European markets?
Very good place to start. Well, in Europe, probably the headline news on the markets today is that banking stocks are doing quite well as the markets open here. So that's the overview. Not a great deal of movement overall, as you can see. The London FTSE ever so slightly down, Paris up, Frankfurt down by around 0.5%. But we'll come on to the news about why those banking stocks are doing well across Europe in just a couple of minutes. I'll give you a little tease on that. In Asia, on trade this Monday, we saw Tokyo's Nikkei doing worse there, really, just over 0.8%, coming under pressure with quite a bit of profit taking to start the week.
You've got lots of company news from right here in France that could impact the markets. We've been teasing Air France.
Yes, that's right. A big press conference happening with Air France today. Now, we're not sure, obviously, exactly what they're going to say, but there are lots of rumours flying about them launching a new low-cost arm, which, of course, low costs are nothing new, but Air France wanting to really take on the big names like Ryanair, EasyJet. This has been reported as an exclusive in the French daily newspaper La Tribune. They're saying that we can expect to see one-way fares under €50 to several dozen destinations within Europe. But like with low-cost competitors, you will still have to pay extras for baggage, that kind of thing. Air France really trying to catch up on its competitors at the moment. We're also keeping our ears open for other news with Air France about them potentially taking over Alitalia entirely. Air France currently owns 25% of the Italian airline, which went bankrupt in 2009. The date to keep in mind for this is January the 12th. That's when the Alitalia shares can start to be traded by the various owners, including Air France. So lots of rumours about the new low cost and an Alitalia takeover.
And staying right here in France, the government is getting involved in a row over an internet provider blocking online ads.
Yes, top of the agenda for Digital Economy Minister Fleur Pellerin today is Free, which is one of the internet providers. Its latest Digibox blocks those perhaps irritating banner adverts that come up on websites. Well, the banner ones. Your website looks quite different when you go to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, to you and me, this might be quite nice. We don't have those flashing things getting in the way of whatever we're trying to look at. Yeah. Just the content, exactly. But of course, websites really rely on their advertising revenue. There are lots of rumours that
advertisers have been complaining.
Yes, and Google as well, not very happy because, I mean, adverts are so big for them, aren't they? So people saying some websites could go under entirely if this kind of thing continues. Is this really fair to censor all adverts entirely? So Fleur Pellerin is hauling those internet executives into her office today, and she's going to maybe sort this one out.
All right, there's a story we continue to follow. Virgin Megastores, they filed for bankruptcy before the weekend. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, on Friday they declared that they were insolvent. They're unable to pay their debts, which mount up to around 22 million euros. They can't pay their rent on that big Champs-Élysées store. They've got around 20 stores around
huge building
France.
On the Champs-Élysées.
Really huge building, and it is very likely to not be a Virgin Megastore for much longer. In fact, there are even rumours that Apple could take over, which is kind of ironic because Virgin Megastore's downfall has been online music retailers like Apple, which is so famous for iTunes. People increasingly buying MP3s, or if they are buying CDs, they're getting them from websites. So Virgin Megastores has really been in a lot of trouble. Its sales falling so much last year, and around 1,000 employees threatened with unemployment. Their representatives and company representatives getting together today. There's not a great deal of hope for them, but they are trying to see if they can find somebody to take over the company.
And what's the latest movement on that controversial French wealth tax? The very tax, in fact, that got Gérard Depardieu moving over to Russia.
Exactly, and putting on those Russian jumpers, was it I was saying earlier? Well, yes, like we saw, he's picked up his Russian passport, and maybe more millionaires might be following him out of the country because the French economy minister announced at the weekend that this 75% top rate of tax will be extended. Originally, it was due to be in place for just 2 years, but he's saying now that it will be in place for the whole 5 years of François Hollande's presidency.
But it was shot down by the Constitutional Court. It doesn't currently exist.
Well, they're trying to tweak it, aren't they? And they're trying to get it in there somehow. It was a major pledge in François Hollande's election campaign. So Pierre Moscovici was taken to the airwaves yesterday to try and convince voters. We can take a listen to what he had to say.
à partir de 2013.
From 2013 and 2014, we'll be in a state of stability. I'm telling you, there's no intention of having some kind of fiscal slamming in this country. We've used our fiscal tools this year, and from next year, we'll move on to other things.
Basculerons sur autre chose.
Catherine, the banking crisis of 2008 is still casting its long shadow, and today we have news on new bank regulations that, perhaps surprisingly, have put a smile back on bankers' faces.
Yes, that's right. 2 years after the financial crash really started, so this is 2010, we had the Basel Committee. This is regulators from around 27 countries got together and they came up with what are called the Basel III standards. And one of the main things basically that they said was that banks need to have a sort of a liquidity cushion, we can call it, where they have to have their own reserves of cash, of liquid assets that they can call on in times of crisis.
You've got to have a substantial safety net.
Exactly. They, however, were saying that it was too expensive. So now, yesterday, the Basel Committee has said, OK, we're going to ease this a little. We're going to make it less expensive for you. They have extended the range of assets that banks can hold. And they've also pushed back the start date that banks need to have this liquidity cushion by. It was meant to be 1st of January 2015. Now they're saying, OK, you only need 60% of your cushion in place by 1st of January 2015. The real start date, the 1st of January 2019. So 4 whole years extra for them to get that in place.
And how good a safeguard is this?
Well, we would kind of need another financial crash, really, to really test this. And of course, nobody really wants to see that.
Let's test run it.
Yes. But one man particularly chuffed with it all is Mervyn King, the outgoing governor of the Bank of England. He said that this is very significant and historic. Some people pointing out, however, that this expansion of the type of assets that the banks can use, this might not be a good thing. Like there are some mortgage-backed securities in there. And of course, bad mortgages were very troublesome in 2008.
And Egypt has just reshuffled its cabinet in order to deal with the economic and financial crisis there.
Yeah, to stave one off, really. There is a senior official from the International Monetary Fund heading to Cairo this Monday. The new finance minister hoping to sort out a $4.8 billion loan that Egypt desperately needs due to the unrest that's taken its toll on the economy. Earlier, I asked our correspondent in Cairo, Alexandra Buccianti, how likely it is that the new finance minister will secure this deal.
It will be quite difficult since he is specialized in Islamic economy. He is not at all a person that already had any thing to do with the IMF. On the other hand, he also have big problems on the economical level. He has a huge deficit budget. He also has a problem with reserves in the central bank. He only has $15 billion, which is sufficient for 3 months' import. If it goes less than that, it will be a very problematic situation. And plus, there is no more practical investment, and tourism is in a catastrophic state. On the other hand, he may argue that, in fact, Egypt is now having a sort of political stability, a new constitution, and Egypt made an effort with the devaluation of the Egyptian pound that lost 5% against the dollar. And he also can count on American support. But the problem is that the IMF will ask for new taxes, and the government had those taxes a month ago, but he had to back down because of popular anger, and he has another problem, subsidies. If he gets rid of some of the subsidies, it will be very difficult for Egyptians to continue to live. Let's not forget that 40% of them are living with less than $2 a day.
Catherine, you dared to venture into the realm of sport, and you've got news about a big money deal from the U.S. National Hockey League.
Yeah, ice hockey is something I don't really know much about sports-wise, but on the business side, the players and the National Hockey League have just come up with a deal on how to split $3.3 billion of revenues that come from this cracking sport. They have been not playing for more than 100 days because they couldn't reach a deal. Some fans saying they might boycott the matches to punish them.
All right, Catherine, always good to have you on set. That was Catherine Nicholson with the Business News. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. More world news coming up.